Obviously, there was some form of connection between Trump and Epstein, like there was between Epstein and everybody else that ran in that social circle. Everyone. They just like pointing the finger at Trump. But what I think is interesting, and the hottest topic that everyone's talking about, is he was accused in the files. There was a claim that he a 13-year-old girl. That claim has been looked into and debunked. What's scary about this is the long-term societal effects and how this adds to the continuing diminishment of public trust in our government.
Yeah.
And that's when society starts going awry. Did I think there would ever be concrete evidence that linked Epstein to intelligence agencies? No, because that's intelligence agencies' entire job, is to make sure there's no concrete evidence. And when you're working with the top 3 intelligence agencies, allegedly, you're gonna hope that they at least did not keep files of what they were up to, if this is what went on. We have somebody like Bill Gates. We know that he's not a good person. We know that he did things with Russian girls that were of age, allegedly. We saw emails, and Melinda Gates, his ex-wife, was recently asked about it, and she basically confirmed, yeah, it was really hard.
Happy Thursday, cousins. So many of you have been reaching out wanting my take on the Epstein files. Now, to be honest, I wanted to do something called reviewing some of the documents first. I didn't want to give a rushed opinion, especially because I just got back from vacation. So I thought there was no better person for me to have this discussion with than my good friend and political commentator, Avery Daye.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Welcome to Respectfully. Now, today, Avery, I'm really excited for you to walk me through this. And for my audience that isn't familiar with your amazing content, like, you are genuinely, as I've told you many times off camera, I want to tell you on, you are one of the most thorough researchers, the most intellectual people to have joined the political commentary movement in a long time.
So kind. I feel like I don't deserve those words. Thank you. I try to pay attention to what I'm talking about and what other people are talking about. You'd think it's like the bare minimum.
Well, thank you for coming in today so that we can really walk through this. All cousins, y'all know the vibes. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully. All right. So, Avery, 3 million new pages. Where do I even begin?
It's so hard. There's so much to go through. I'm not an expert on this. Anybody who thinks that they have a concrete idea of everything that played out and the corruption and layers of corruption involved in the Epstein files, I believe, is wrong. I think there's so much bad that was done throughout the Epstein files, and in a perfect world, these people would be held accountable. But the really big question for me, and what I keep going through, and the more I dig and the more I read some of these truly horrible things, the more I'm like, okay, but can we do anything about it?
Yeah.
How is this going to hold up in a court of law? Are these people going to see punishment?
You know, it's interesting you say that, because people get really mad when I say this, but if we're going to have a conversation about Epstein, just like anything else, we need to be ready to have an honest conversation. And that honest conversation, we have to ask questions, and they're not all pretty. But with some of the information that's out there, it's like, okay, we want to prosecute these people. Great. If you're a PDF file, we want to prosecute you. But with some of these people and some of the information in the files, it's like, first of all, what are we prosecuting you for? And do we have evidence for that outside of just an email alleging something?
That's the hot topic. And I think that that's what people are really frustrated by, because we can look at these people and we can look at the corruption that's happening, and we're like, look, that's proof. And it won't stand in a court of law. But also, nor should it. I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty, and it's without a shadow of a doubt. And unfortunately, there's doubt that can be put in response to some of these Epstein files. And I don't agree with that. Like, I wish that it were not the case. But the reality is, what's going to come from this?
Yeah.
Like, is this all just noise? I don't like that. I don't want that to be the case. But unfortunately, I do think that's the reality.
Yeah. And, you know, this is the thing that I was afraid of, because one of the things that I have felt for a while was that the one thing that could be potentially worse than not releasing the files is getting the files, and then it's like, now what are we supposed to do with this information? Because I think there's an element of fatigue and also confusion that's coming from the fact that we have 3 million new pages and nobody knows what we're supposed to do with it. And this has been going on for so long. Like, some of the things that we've already known to be true is, yes, Jeffrey Epstein was initially convicted in the 2000s for SAing, a minor, and for also for, you know, attempting to prostitute a minor.
Yes.
So these are things that we know. So it's like there are elements of it that are concrete. We know that for a fact. Now, how we take that to the next level and start figuring out what happened on this island, what happened with these connections, because the first thing that I already knew but have confirmed in what I've seen in the files so far is you can't just make this a Democrat or Republican, or even an Islam or a Zionist or any of those type of things. He was connected seemingly to everyone all at once, like a global spy caliber of just being connected to everyone. And what's wild about that is he doesn't strike me as particularly intelligent. He's just connected.
Well, what is shocking to me and unfortunate to me is that there's no evidence of blackmail in the files. So as we talk about this and we all conspire that he was linked to these intelligence agencies, which whether or not there's validity to these claims is to be debated and talked about, the evidence doesn't support it.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
So
I would not like that to be the case.
You're the first person I've heard say that, because again, I'm still truly at the very beginning of researching these new documents. And I just assumed there had to be something in there about blackmail, but there's
evidence
nothing.
Of blackmail.
Or anything that would even insinuate that he has.
I'm sure,
blackmail.
yeah, of course you can insinuate things.
True.
Yes.
But how does that hold up in court?
Yes, exactly. As in terms of a court of law, no.
Because, you know, I've had this theory since day one. Because George Bush, there is nothing you can tell me that you speculate or have a conspiracy about that they did that I don't believe. I will believe it. You could tell me that anything that the Clintons, the Gates, or the Bushes did, and I'm going to believe it. And one of my things that I have said for a while, and every time I've done a prediction on what I thought was going to be in these files, is I feel like a lot of the information that we want in the files was never collected to begin with.
I agree.
I truly believe, because 2007 era, that was still during the George Bush era. He was convicted in
28. He was charged in he was charged in 2006. He was convicted in 2008. Epstein.
Yes. So that was still during like the Bush era.
Yes.
And that being said, it's like, okay, I doubt he had the FBI even do their due diligence. No. And if he did, and there was all this incriminating information, you're telling me that that information somehow survived the Obama administration, Trump, Biden, and spanned the block on Trump again?
Right.
I think
connected to all these elite people,
right,
and in these elite circles that all had favors to call in. And I just don't think the evidence was properly collected. I don't think it's strong enough against really anything I'm seeing to be held in a court of law. And I think it's a real stain on our government.
Yeah.
I think it's a real stain on what we perceive to be our elite. I think it's a real stain on our country. But what do you do about it?
Yeah.
That's the big question. I think that's where society is outraged. And it's just fueling this divide between certain parties and amongst even just the GOP. Amongst the GOP, it's creating a further divide between Republicans and Democrats, pointing the finger. And that, to me, it's just a bunch of sleazeballs and slimeballs and possibly even some pedos.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, first the
hottest topic's Trump. So if you want to jump into that.
I was going to say, I'm still struggling to even think, where do we begin with this?
Yes.
So if we first get into President Trump,
yes,
who, from my understanding, he's always been one of the whistleblowers against this. And I have a theory that a lot of people got mad at me for, where I feel like Jeffrey Epstein really overexposed their relationship in order to clout chase off of being in proximity to Trump, because sending emails being like, oh yeah, Donnie T. Jeffrey Epstein to me had the energy of like your typical sleazy Miami promoter that is trying to seem like he's in the know with everybody.
I mean, he even just did that too. The emails came out where he did that to Elon Musk and said Reid Hoffman was at the island, last weekend. So trying to get him to come.
Yeah.
And Elon's like, that has the opposite effect. But obviously there was some form of connection between Trump and Epstein, like there was between Epstein and everybody else that ran in that social circle. Everyone.
Yeah.
They just like pointing the finger at Trump. But what I think is interesting, and the hottest topic that everyone's talking about, is he was accused of, in the files, there was a claim that he raped a 13-year-old girl. That claim has been looked into and debunked. There is no validity to the claim. There is they've pursued it. it falls apart. I don't know the ins and outs of why it falls apart. I've read a few things. I've seen a few conspiracies. I think it was an anonymous tip, and I think they went by her name being Katie Johnson. And it's an anonymous tip, so there's no victim. So like if you look at it, like how do you say he R.A.P. Edie, a 13-year-old girl? Who?
Right.
Who? When? There's nothing. It all falls apart. So then the other big argument on Trump in the Epstein files is, he flew on Epstein's planes, allegedly, like 8 times. Okay. If that were true, which the DOJ says it's not, Trump says it's not, I don't know. This was back in the 90s. The claims are between 93 and 96. Little James Island, Epstein Island, was not purchased until 98.
Oh.
So
see,
I don't know how you can claim that he went on an island that wasn't even purchased.
Right.
The flight logs allegedly are between New York and Florida. Okay. He flew on a plane.
God forbid.
Between, and I don't know what happened. I don't know the nature of their relationship. I do not think Trump is, I just don't think he is a pedo. Like there's absolutely no proof that points to it.
Yeah.
It's not his character. It's not history. And I don't think he was a sleazeball. Whereas you could look at somebody like Bill Clinton, who was a sleazeball. You could look at someone like Gates, who was a sleazeball. Now, whether or not they did anything that can be upheld in a court of law, that's where it falls apart.
Right.
So in terms of the accusations against Trump, they all do fall apart. And then what we found out was that Democrats conspired against Trump in his political elections. And then a lot of the claims that people are bringing forward and mentioning that he's in the files, because in the new drop, he's mentioned about 1,000 times. People argue that throughout all the files, he's mentioned like 30,000 times, 38,000. But a lot of these claims happened during election years. Mm-hmm. So how convenient. And then we also saw that so they happened during election years. And then we also saw that Epstein and other Democrats were conspiring to work against Trump, to destroy his political career. So from what I'm seeing, it's fine. It's nothing we don't know. Yeah, it's nothing we don't already know.
And honestly, I always say too, it's like when they were trying to take Trump out and like trying to get him thrown into prison for 1,000 different reasons, it would have been a lot easier for the Democrats to take him down for being a pedo and a rapist than literally colluding with Russia.
Because they had these files. And so if there was any validity to any of these claims, they would have done it and they wouldn't have cared what happened to their party because they know that they're loyal.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They don't read things. They don't do their own research. And they know that. They bank on that fact, actually. Mm-hmm. And so they would have used it.
Yeah.
And there's no, we're not going to release this to protect our own. No. The Democrats, they don't protect their own. Mm-hmm. They don't do that. So they would have used it against Trump. And I just think the whole thing falls apart. And if you actually really do read the emails and start digging through these files and do your own research, and of course there are things people can take out of context, but if you ask the right questions, it all falls apart pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The other big news that I'm seeing everywhere in regards to the Epstein files, which I think is such injustice, is the BBC.uk had an article. And they titled it like the elites in the Epstein files or something, or like who's in the Epstein files. And they used a picture of Elon Musk, the man who has never been to Epstein Island, has never flown on the plane, and is quite literally hardly mentioned in the files besides Jeffrey Epstein attempting to get him to come. And there's a few email correspondence. A lot of what I'm seeing circulating online is fake. They're not even real. They're AI generated about Elon. And he pushed harder than anyone else for the files to be released. So the Democrats using this, it's just a big smear campaign. They're just using it. Like the truth doesn't matter.
Right.
And they're using this as a way to just further divide. And it's wrong. It's just so wrong.
And honestly, it's like, I understand the world of clickbait, but when you're talking about something with this much depth and that many victims to utilize to exploit the face of an innocent man, that's just deplorable.
It's gross.
And I hope he's suing them into the ground.
It's gross.
Because why would you do that? Like, unless that person is actually, like, of all the people, the Jay-Z's of the world, that another person that you could tell me he did literally anything, I would believe it, because he's such an awful person.
Bad.
Why would you go after someone like Elon, who has a track record of doing everything that he can, spending tens of billions of dollars to try to help people out?
Also, if he wanted to go be a sleazeball and party with all these girls, that's what he would have done.
And he would have gotten his own island.
Yes, like he would have gone and been a sleazeball and partied. Like we know his personal faults. They're public for everyone to see, unfortunately for him. So that's just not one of them.
Yeah.
They're going to try to push it and push the narrative, and it's just not true.
And that's part of what he and President Trump have in common that has made them so hard to attack, is because they're so upfront about their own BS and about their own lore. It's like, they're so real. You see it all coming. You don't need, or they don't need to like portray any kind of lie, because their truth and who they really are is so bold and polarizing and controversial for whatever reason that you don't need to make things up about them. But the reason that they do is because they're so desperate to tear down these people that are going against the system and building their own systems. And they're ultimately viewed as a threat, which is so crazy to me that you would think after these Epstein files got released, they would at least start going in on the people that do have something potentially incriminating in there, rather than the people that are,
like, we know Reid
vindicated.
Hoffman, he visited Epstein Island.
Yeah, ask him some questions.
And he confirmed that he did. He said it was a regret, but it's confirmed that he visited it, which was after the 2008 conviction. So he went there with the knowledge of knowing who Epstein was, and that he was convicted of crimes against a child. So I think there's a bigger smoking gun there. Are we ever going to find out what happened? No, of course not. So do we assume that he's guilty? No, that's not the way our judicial system works. That's not the way our justice system works. And thank goodness for it. We have somebody like Bill Gates. We know that he's not a good person. We know that he did things with Russian girls that were of age, allegedly, for entertainment purposes. But it's in the files. And we saw emails, and Melinda Gates, his ex-wife, was recently asked about it. And she basically confirmed, yeah, it was really hard.
And we do have that clip.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat sexually transmitted infection, and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life.
Whoa, wait. So she confirmed it without confirming it.
And you know what? Let me say, people hate on her. She deserves the bag that she got from that divorce.
Oh, 100%.
She was put through hell, and I'm sure hell that we do not know, and she will never speak about. But that's tough.
That's crazy.
Also, can we talk about Bill Gates just not believing in bodily autonomy? Because how ironic, he's the one that pushed the COVID vaccine mandate.
So you're telling me that Bill Gates just happens to be totally okay with putting medicine in our body without our own consent?
Right?
Like,
consider me shocked.
I'm gagged.
Right? So I just think that's telling of who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And he is not somebody as a character in the public that we should value his morality
Yeah.
in any sense of the word, in any sense of what he's doing. So I think that's a little bit scarier in the sense that he has so much influence and so much power, and the left has lifted him up as a spokesperson for them. And he's been a North Star in things like the COVID mandate. Why?
You know, he single-handedly is the reason that these people are never beating the allegations that satanic pedophiles are running the world.
Yes, there's so much of that in the Epstein files, and there's so much of the adrenochrome conspiracy that's running wild, and the mutilating babies, and it's just horrible. Everything, and things are sometimes clipped and taken out of context, and some of it's not real. But like as in their AI generated parts of the Epstein files. But it's dark. It's all really dark.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're ever going to find the truth about it is minuscule.
Only reason I chuckle is because, you know, I got to keep it PG a little bit on YouTube, but I still remember one of our first conversations that we ever had that we went really
I don't
deep
know
on.
it. What is it?
And it was just us talking about, let's just say, biblical times of evil and just how intense some of these rituals and things of that nature get. And I know a lot of this is conspiracy that people are trying to peddle around it, but I know a lot of this evil, dark, demonic energy is very real. And it's kind of frightening to me how so many people just don't get it. And so many people think that you can simply vote out these evil people when it's like, you have to realize to an extent, we are dealing with people that are worshiping biblical age demons that are hell-bent on whether it's depopulation or making us all sick or making us all enslaved or taking us all off of the planet. I don't fully understand what it is that their goal is, but there is a level of darkness and evil that is being displayed with these people that you just cannot explain. Because what do you mean you want to use your billions of dollars and your power and your influence to force medication into millions of people at a time, if not billions of people at a time, including doing that to your own wife after you have gone and had these affairs, which hopefully you were having affairs with women of age, but it's like, this is a level of evil that I think the only way you can find the answer to it is if you start looking at some sort of spirituality.
I just think there's so many levels of corruption and layers of corruption to this that we can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Because, and thank goodness. And thank goodness we cannot comprehend it. Because I truly think what is the driving force behind a lot of this is evil. And I don't even know if the people that are in it recognize that it's evil. They might be so deep into it and so far in it that they're not even able to take the step back and see the 360 view, that this is driven by a larger force.
I respect that, but I push back on it. I think these people are very conscious and aware, and I think some of them
are.
I think that
some of them are.
Majority of them are, and I think the ones that aren't were raised in it. Because like some of them, they're just grandfathered into it at this point. But others, I think they really are conscious, because in order to get into these type of tribes, into these certain elite circles, you quite literally have to do the most heinous, soulless thing a lot of the time in order to get in with these people. That's why I'm so happy Nicki Minaj is calling it out. And it's also probably why people like Nicki and people like President Trump and people like Elon Musk, they get so much hate, because they ended up becoming globally powerful and influential without having to, for lack of a better term, but it could also be the best term, selling their soul.
Yes.
And when I look at what these people are doing, it's just like a gang. You know, I'm from Chicago, come a long way. And I remember, you know, and it's pretty common knowledge, but in order to get into a lot of these gangs, you either have to murder somebody or harm somebody just to show, hey, that's an innocent person. I'm willing to go do whatever to prove my loyalty to everything that you're going to ask me to do here on. So when it comes to this global element of it, which is 10 times more, 10 is crazy, 10 billion times more evil and powerful and with way more depth than your local street gang, they're doing the most heinous evil things to prove their loyalty. And I know, I think I still have to say allegedly, but I know enough people adjacent to the Diddy world that have alleged the types of things that he would make people do. Because Diddy has his own set of files. Diddy and Epstein are cut from the same cloth, but, same energy. Probably good friends, allegedly. But when I was hearing from some of them about what goes on in the Diddy world, I have heard from key people, I'll just put it that way, that he will go as far as making them give him either oral sex or bending over or things of that nature. And his mindset on it is that if you can get a straight man to do that, you can get a straight man to do anything. So when it comes...
And it's so dark because have you seen, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but it's so hard to watch that video of Justin Bieber.
It is. It's so sad. Any video of Justin Bieber and Diddy interacting.
And I don't know. I'm not claiming that anything. I don't know. I literally don't know. There will be no way of knowing. I hope there is no way for the public to see something and have concrete proof. I hope.
Yeah,
but in conspiring, it's so dark and twisted.
And I've heard key allegations of a lot of people in the Diddy orbit of them doing similar things. Somebody usher these people into a clinic, allegedly. But that being said, it's just really dark and twisted how dead set these people are. But again, is that shown enough in the files that we can actually make an arrest? And, when it goes back to President Trump saying like, oh, a lot of it is a hoax. Well, it's like, I don't think he meant that Jeffrey Epstein being a bad person is a hoax, but I think what he meant is that some of the things that these people were doing, the hype around it was way over the top. Some of the things that these people were doing weren't illegal. They're immoral, but they're not illegal.
Right.
And then the things that are really illegal and immoral, where's the proof?
And we don't have victims. I mean, we have Virginia against
and her whole story is a mess.
Yes. And her whole story has fallen apart.
Many times.
Did not stand. So what other victims do we have? And I'm not saying that's not a fault to the victims. I'm not blaming a victim if they're not coming forward. I understand that. But in order for something to happen, we have to have somebody that it happened to.
Yeah.
And we don't. And that's an uncomfortable truth that people don't really like to say. And then another uncomfortable truth is a lot of these women were of
sugar
age.
Babies.
Yes, of age and made the conscious decision to put themselves in bad situations that maybe they did not understand the extent of. And I would like to think they did not understand the extent of. And I'm not victim blaming, but that is an uncomfortable truth that we have to look at in looking at this in a court of law.
Yeah.
And I'm not a lawyer, but I understand enough to know that that's going to fall apart.
Yeah, because even the laws around human trafficking are very tricky because it's like, and again, don't quote me on this, I'm not a lawyer, but it's like there are situations where it's like a wealthy man paying to fly a girl to a different state. Like there's like little weird ways that people are able to accuse it of being human trafficking. But it's like what I'm more focused on is like what you said. It's like I want to know. First of all, let me just go back and say this. I need a degree of separation when we talk about the Epstein victims. Because if you're saying that there's all these children that were affected, who I'm assuming majority of them would be of age now, whether or not they're of age, actually,
which I do
they
think
need to come forward.
Which I really do think there are. And I'm not going to say you guys have to come forward. I'm not going to say, but if you want any form of justice,
you have to.
That's the only option.
You can't sit back and be upset that there isn't justice and that these people aren't being brought to light if you haven't gone to take it to light. And I understand that a lot of them are afraid for their families.
Photos of Prince Andrew with the girl.
Yes.
And like I just
go to the police.
There are little girls. There are girls under 18 that have been victims. I am not disputing that.
Right.
In order to prosecute for a crime,
you have to
have
forward.
A victim.
And again, there's ways to do it where you can come anonymously.
Yes.
Like there are ways to do it where they're able to hide your identity. Now, that being said, and what's actually crazy too is that some of the women that were reacting to the Epstein files coming out were mad, saying that they got exposed as victims again and that they're being doxxed and all this stuff. And I'm like, there's not a single sane person on this planet that is trying to go after your privacy. But what we need is for you to come through and explain your story again, even if you do it anonymously, which I know that they're able to do.
So sad.
And
it's so
the
sad they're
court
even
can
put in this position. Like I hate it. I hate everything about it.
I respect it. And again, I respect their privacy. I want them to be able to do it anonymously as much as they can. But like anonymous and still being able to help us get some evidence would be amazing. But then where I need this degree of separation though is we need to have the conversation, the uncomfortable conversation of which one of you were just sugar babies. Which one of you saw an opportunity to be in proximity with these wealthy, powerful, elite men and go on an island, and you went and were having sex and doing whatever and being a part of these parties and then going back.
And that doesn't mean that something bad didn't happen to them.
Yes.
While they were there. That doesn't mean they were sold a false,
Right.
They weren't, sold a false narrative of what was going to happen. Like, you can still have had a bad experience. You can still be a victim. You can still be a victim of crimes while getting yourself into the situation.
Yes, you could have been manipulated. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not victim blaming. I'm not, telling these girls that they don't deserve justice. I'm not doing any of that. No. But when we have the conversation of who is a PDF file,
it's just there. Two things can be true at once.
With that degree of separation.
Yes.
It's just such a difficult conversation to have because we don't have the substance for it.
Right.
I feel like we have millions of pages with bare minimum substance. All we confirmed all over again from what I'm seeing thus far is a lot of these people that we already knew were freaky are freaky.
Right. And we're seeing the Democrats blame the non-freaky ones for the whole thing.
Yeah, and if we're going to have a serious conversation about it, it's like we need to be able to put left and right to the side for 1 second.
Yes.
Put the political tribalism to the side for 1 second. Put the nationalism to the side for 1 second and realize there are a lot of people alleged to be a part of this. And there is a very widespread effort to hide something. And no matter how much is getting revealed, I still don't think we're seeing it.
So where do we move forward? Yeah. How do we bring justice? And it's not a nice answer.
Yeah.
Because it's not what everyone wants to hear.
Right. And it's part of why too, like I didn't want to, for so many reasons, I didn't want to be your stereotypical political influencer who just rushes to go scream at people and be like blaming this and blaming that. It's like, no, when you really sit with this information, what am I supposed to do with this information?
It's dark.
Yeah.
There's no denying that it's dark. There's no denying that it's twisted on all sides of the political aisle. Like, completely take politics out of it. What went on and how this was able to thrive in an elite circle like that, because it didn't just happen. It was thriving.
Yeah.
And they were getting away with it.
And it was like everybody knew. It was like a public secret.
It's so dark. It's such a stain on our country.
Yeah.
It's a stain so globally. Unfair. It's so unfair to so many people involved. Like, it's so unfair to, obviously, first and foremost, the victims. But then it's so unfair to people that were just mentioned in it, whose names are getting dragged. And they're like, but that was just the circle of people that, just because I was at a dinner with this person doesn't mean I'm then the way society and our country and our politics is handling it is awful. It's not fun to watch. It puts a pit in my stomach.
This is such an intrusive thought and it's so insane. But the one thing I could walk away with positively is that racism actually helped Black people for once. Black women were marked safe from the Epstein Island.
It's horrible.
I know that's so awful, but because I don't know if it was real or not, because it's like so hard to even confirm these days, but I'm pretty sure I saw, as I was getting ready to like sit down with you today, there was this screenshot that people have taken saying that Epstein was saying all these horrible things about Black girls and not wanting Black girls on the island. I was like, you know what? I'm mad at it. For once, racism has vindicated Black women. So they can't make this a BLM issue. This is so bad.
So they can't make it a BLM issue. I know, because they would have capitalized on that. It's just, I don't know. It's all disheartening. If we at least attempt to go after some of these people that we think, and then again, so much of it is redacted. So if there's still ongoing investigations, which I believe there are, we need to at least attempt to do something with it. Yeah. And that will help create a little bit of public trust. Mm-hmm. But what's scary about this is the long-term societal effects and how this adds to the continuing diminishment of public trust in our government.
Yeah.
And that's when society starts going awry.
You know, one of the things that I feared with the release of the files, and again, I've been one of the most vocal advocates for releasing the files for years now, but a fear I did have simultaneously is like, the more we get, the closer we get to a state of anarchy. Yes. you're going to get to the point where people are so anti-government because like I can't stand the government, but like I'm not going to overthrow the government.
That's how the alt-right has happened, and this whole Nick Fuentes and this Candace Owens and this big movement that is very, very popular, and it's continuing to become more and more popular.
Yeah.
It's this absolute lack of trust in government institutions, and it's this hatred of the elite, and it's a slippery slope because we become tribal if we start doing that.
What else stuck out to you in the files?
Everyone wants to talk about Israel.
Israel is really that girl. Everybody is so obsessed with her. Like, she is really her.
So, unfortunately, to everyone's dismay, there is no concrete evidence that links Epstein to intelligence agencies. Did I think there would ever be concrete evidence that linked Epstein to intelligence agencies? No, because that's intelligence agencies' entire job is to make sure there's no concrete evidence. And when you were working with the top 3 intelligence agencies, allegedly, you're going to hope and pray that they at least did not keep files of what they were up to, if this is what went on.
You know, that's such a good point, too, because I was so baffled by some of the things that they were sending in the emails. Like, I message my friends on Signal. I'm afraid to even talk to my friends
Signal's
on the phone
not secure.
sometimes.
XChat.
Let me move over to XChat because some of these things that like I even talk about, I'm like, I would not risk the people seeing in the light of day. And I'm not doing anything criminal. I'm just saying some crazy things sometimes. The things that Epstein was comfortable putting in an email.
Messages.
Oh my gosh, screenshot protection. Like,
yeah, have all that.
Like, why does my personal Snapchat feel more secure than the Epstein emails? So it's
and
like,
why was he documenting everything?
There had to have been a purpose of why he was documenting so much. And that's where I'm just like so confused with this all. It's like, what the hell was actually going on? And when it comes to the intelligence agencies, I still don't doubt that he's connected to all of the major intelligence agencies.
I think so too. And I think he was used and abused.
Yeah.
I don't think he was properly trained by any of them. I don't think he was this crazy like Mossad plant but I do believe that in some capacity, he worked for some of them, Russia, Israel, the US. There's no validity to the claim. There's no proof. So as we can all conspire and say, yes, I believe this to be true. And why was he collecting all this? And again, it's very odd how there's just no proof of blackmail. Well then what is the whole files? What was the purpose of that?
Yeah.
So I just think you're dealing with the top 3 intelligence agencies in the world.
Yeah.
You're not going to get what you guys want to get. You're just not.
I'm sorry, but like, it's at the point with all the stuff he documented, was he making like a scrapbook? Like
he was making a burn book.
Like a Regina George burn book? Yes. Like, what was his obsession? You know, between him and Hunter Biden, That's
crazy. The documentation.
To document their own tea.
It's crazy.
It's wild. And then I was rolling my eyes earlier because I thought about it. I'm like, as we're talking about this, you already know people are going to be like, oh, so are you saying that Israel isn't perfect? There is not a single modern country that doesn't have corrupt people in it.
Yes.
Okay. So I
mean, our own intelligence.
But yeah, our intelligence is so compromised.
I was going to say our own intelligence agency likely might have been involved in the assassination of a sitting president.
Yeah.
Like there's a claim to be made there. That doesn't mean that the core fundamental values that make up our country are inherently evil.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you hate the country. It means, oh, that's a bad system. Like something bad happened here. Let's fix it and move forward. But as far as Israel goes, and in the Epstein files, there's emails of Jeffrey Epstein emailing with the then prime minister in the 90s. And it's about the then prime minister getting on the board of directors or something for Palantir. So it had to do with Peter Thiel. And there's no further conspiracy. I don't know.
They knew each other.
I mean, all these people, you could argue, were all corrupt. Why does that mean I have to hate the state of Israel?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't even know if there's corruption in it.
Right.
I have not... I wasn't there, nor were the people that are conspiring. So if there was evil done, regardless of the country it's from, I want it I want it to be gone. I want it to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of country it was from, regardless of what intelligence agency it was from. I want there to be consequences.
Electric chair.
I do, but there's not. Yeah. So what are we supposed to do with it? So we can conspire and we can just continue hating our girl Israel. The evidence, if you really look back at it and if you make the claim and you take the claim to a court of law, is it going to stand?
Yeah.
Does that mean that the entire country is evil and doesn't deserve to exist? Does that mean the United States is evil and doesn't deserve to exist? Because I think our agencies were involved in some way too. There are emails that talk about our setting up meetings with the director of our CIA.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have an entire shadow government here that's been here since at least the 60s.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not surprised by any of this. Yes. But again, it's like, why was Jeffrey? I'm so curious why Jeffrey was such a useful person. Because you listen to like his interviews and stuff. It's like, this doesn't sound to me like a James Bond type of character. Like, he just sounds like.
And where did he get his money? From an intel agency? I don't know.
Embezzlement, a scratch off. Like,
but then why was he using it to collect all this information on people? I mean, I don't know.
I still believe that he was out collecting blackmail. I just don't think we collected the blackmail.
We didn't.
I don't think we ever got it. And also, like, I've heard a lot. And one thing that I've always had this theory of is because, as you know, everything on the internet is permanent. And when you delete it, the only way to delete it for real is you have to have the highest level of people to delete the record of the deletion of the deletion. Right. And that takes the highest level, Bill Gates level of internet control.
Yes.
And like true government power to delete that. So it's like, I think
like
there's a
Clinton,
lot.
And the Gates and Hoffman and.
Like, they would be the ones to delete that. You think by now, with all the hoopla that has been around potentially releasing these files, you think that they haven't already pulled the strings that they needed to pull to make sure those things are deleted? Like, I just don't think there's going to be a solution. And it's like, I feel like I was delusional forever thinking that we were going to, but.
Yeah, I think the Trump administration handled it really poorly too with the whole binder thing and just the hype around it. Like Trump complains about the hype. He helped create the hype.
Yes, but in Trump's defense, President Trump did not campaign on the Epstein files like people try to allege.
And people say that all the time.
Yeah, and I know you're not saying that, but that's something that I think is always worth clarifying. President Trump was asked about the files, at least on camera, to my knowledge, twice. And both times he was like, I wouldn't have a problem releasing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like this idea that he campaigned on it, he did not. Donald Trump Jr. did, but Donald Trump Jr. does not have a position in the Trump admin. No. So. And he's and I mean this with utmost respect, he's a social media personality. Yes. So he's talking about everything that we are. And once you get into like this political commentary world, you quickly realize that there is a degree of separation between the political commentators and the government people, like government spokespeople.
Yes.
And there's very few who actually have that actual crossover. But all that to say, I do want to ask you, did you notice anything interesting about Ghislaine Maxwell or her father?
I didn't do a deep dive into that.
Okay, because that's something I still want to look into as well, because again, I've only been able to skim because there's so much going on. I did see something that had to do with, it depends how you read it, but it sounded like it was insinuating that Jeffrey Epstein was saying that Mossad may have killed Robert Maxwell, but there's many ways to interpret it, but nothing about it was really clear from what I was saying.
So here's the thing about assets from intel agencies. Is assets can get eliminated.
Yeah.
Assets get taken out. When you become a liability, you're in trouble.
Which we know he was, right? Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father. Wasn't he confirmed to have links with Mossad, is my understanding?
I believe so.
Like early Mossad. So it's like, yeah, if he was being problematic, he might have gotten the Boombaclot.
It's horrible.
Oh, well. It's so sloppy to me how they went about that whole camera thing. To cut the cameras and then all of a sudden the cameras are working again.
There are so much information we're never, ever, ever going to find out the truth behind. And the public's not okay with that. And if we want to move on as a country, we have to be okay with that. And whether or not that's okay in and of itself is a question. Is it okay that we have a government and that we have it's really previous governments, not even this administration to blame, that will cover something up like this.
Yeah.
Will not do proper investigations. I do believe that there's a mixture of incompetence as well. I think in all of this corruption, there's a very, very heavy mixture of mass incompetence. And our FBI did not collect the proper intel. They didn't do the proper research. They didn't collect the proper evidence. Do I think they did that on purpose?
I think they were instructed.
I think some of them did it on purpose, and then I think the people executing were just incompetent.
Yeah, I'm seeing right now the discourse that's on X is so many people are trying to push right now for certain cabinet members to be impeached. And
on both sides of the aisle.
On both sides. That's very true. Like, you're seeing it on the left and the right. And I can understand why. I can understand the frustration. But I think people also need to remember that the public perception is not even close to the reality of what's happening behind the scenes.
Yes.
Because you can have somebody that is the head of an organization or the head of, an agency that is doing amazing work. But if there are people in between them and the information, like, doesn't matter how high level you are, there are people that are able to completely sabotage everything that you're working on and make it to where you think you have a certain stack of documents in front of you, and then you get to looking and they just gave you a nothing burger.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to give them some grace. I do trust that President Trump knows what he's doing, and that if he wanted these people kicked out of their positions, he'd be vocal about it. So if there is anybody in the way, I don't think it's who people are blaming.
I agree. And I think, again, on public perception, we are so quick to jump to what we don't understand.
Yeah.
What we have no understanding of behind the scenes in. And there's a reason that the public does not have top secret security clearance.
Yeah.
There's a reason for these things. And I elected this administration with the trust that they are competent and that the leaders in charge are competent. And throughout the administration, I've seen a lot of competence.
Yes.
In a way I've never seen in a government. Now that being said, a government's also very bureaucratic and slow and painful. But in terms of Trump's cabinet picks, I do trust him.
Yeah.
I trust that he has reasons. Am I always going to like the reasons? Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know.
Politics.
Am I going to get frustrated with the rest of the public? Sure. But I'm going to get frustrated with the rest of the public with the understanding that I do not understand.
Right.
So if you're going to be reactionary, you have to be reactionary, and you have to have your, public meltdown, as so many of these political influencers have had, with the understanding that there's so much more to it that we will never know.
Well, Avery, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For bringing me up to speed. I know there's so much more to get into, and this
There's so
conversation
much.
will definitely continue. It's just wild.
There's
It's
no
sad.
way to break down all of this.
Right.
And you cannot claim to be a subject matter expert on it. So you have to look at it with a logical and high level view that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and people don't want to do that. People want action. People want convictions. People want a solution and a way to go forward. And they want to hate and separate and divide. The reality of it is, okay, you're reacting. What are we going to do about it? Is there anything to do about it?
Right. That's the key question. Is there anything to do? I don't know as of now. If there
And
are
we don't
any
have
action
access to
steps.
the information. We don't know what's still being investigated.
Yeah.
There was a lot that's redacted. And so are they still doing investigations? Do they still have, we don't know. We don't know. And there's a reason for the public not to know. So I would hope that there's some type of attempt to hold these people accountable. If there's evidence against it, I'm just not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, I want to trust the process, but we don't know.
The process sucks.
We don't know. We don't know what the process is.
Well, the process is our judicial system, and you have to have faith in our judicial system, as many flaws as it has, yes. But you either believe in innocent until proven guilty without a shadow of a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt. You either believe in that or you don't.
I don't. I'm just kidding.
Let's put everyone in jail.
Yeah, throw them all in the big house. I'm pro mass incarceration anyway. On that note, Avery, Thank you so much for coming in
you.
today. Cousins, be sure to follow Avery on all of her platforms. She does incredible work. She's one of the fastest rising political commentators to have come out in the last year or two. I'm just so impressed by you and grateful that you joined us here at PragerU.
Thank you.
Y'all know the vibes. I'll see you soon.